Oh, there we go. We're going live simulcast here on Radio FM8 out Australia, broadcasting here in Springwood, Brisbane, Queensland, Australia. For those people in New Zealand, thank you for coming on. And for our interstate viewer, the one and only Yvonne Howard from South Australia, you got to mention today in dispatches. Anyway, right. So directly above me is our guest Erik, and above him again, of course, they're all in the Northern Hemisphere. Where else would they be sitting above us? Is Andrena, our co-host. So it's a welcome to both Erik and Andrena. And Andrena, you can take it away.
Thank you, Jeff.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good day, and wherever you are in the world, welcome. And if you're listening to the replay, today we have the lovely Erik Pelham. I haven't met him in person, but I'm very aware of him. My sister did a workshop with him quite a number of years ago now, probably 10 maybe, I'm not sure, in Glastonbury, and she did and she came back with dolphin essences and whale essences and I think something else. Anyway, she messaged me and she said he's coming to Australia. It would be really great if you can get in touch. So through different emails and all sorts of things, we connected, but we have never met up. But I'm aware of Erik's essences that he makes, and they are lovely. I don't know them all, but I know a couple. So I would like you to share. I know you said in 1988, I think it was, that your life changed dramatically when On came in. Mm-hmm. And I know this is going to be, for some people, this may be a little bit way out, but I would love you to share how you started. And because I know you work with the flower divas, and they taught you everything. I'd love to know a little bit more about that. And you've got so much. Take it away.
Thank you so much, Andrena. Yeah, I'd like to go back a little bit further in time, because the sequence of what happened in 1988 really only has meaning if I go back to when I was 5 years old,
right,
as a kid in India. I'm the fourth of 7 children, born in India to missionary parents. And my father was with the CMS, the Church Missionary Society. My mother was Swedish, and we were all born in India. And when I was 5 years old, I went on a long train journey across southern India. And there was nothing to stop me falling off the top bunk. And I was sleeping on the top bunk. Unfortunately, I fell off during the night, cut my head right open. And because my mother's a nurse, I survived. Otherwise, I wouldn't have survived, because it cut very deep. And in the hospital in Madras the next day, the guy said, "This guy's just incredible to be alive, because he should have been dead." Because I was like a fraction of a millimeter from death. And he just stitched me up with 3 stitches. And literally after that, I had a new consciousness. Wow. I suddenly was aware of God. I was aware of spirit. It was like at the age of 5, I was given a new mind. I was given a new everything. And then I resolved, even at the age of 5, that if I did anything in my life, I would put right all the distortions about God, all the distortions about the spirit world that have been put out. Because religion, unfortunately, and I'm not nailing any one religion here, but they put out a very distorted picture about the divine source. And I was determined that I would put the record straight at some point during my life. And during my whole early life, I was really connected with color. When I was at school, I learned photography. When I was at university, I ran the Photographic Society. I was doing a lot with color. And then as soon as I left university, I became a professional photographer for 17 years. And I did the old-fashioned film photography. And I used a color meter. I worked with filters. I learned everything there was to know about color in terms of light and how to control it. Used to work for the National Trust, this big organization in England who own a lot of the old country houses. I was their main photographer right down the west coast of England. So I had a really strong grounding in just light, cameras, action. And this was a really good brand new, because I understood color and light. And what I didn't know at that point is that I'd be working with color and light, but on a very different level later on during my life. So just to cut a long story short, 1987, I was working out in Hong Kong doing book photography for Longman's book publishing. And I'd just done a 6-week stint. And just as I came home, something told me, that's it, your photographic career is finished. And I was really quite shocked. And I suddenly had these urges to go and buy essences. So I went up to Findhorn, bought essences with all the money I had. And I was with my fiancée, Jane, and attended a course on Alaskan flower essences in Glastonbury with Steve Johnson, and actually heard the flower diva, the flower angel, talking to me, telling me what all the properties of the essence was. I was absolutely dumbfounded because I got an audible voice. And then I learned from that point that I had a spirit guide, because Steve, my teacher, said, look, your superconscious moves a pendulum. And I thought, no, it's not that. Something else does. And I was so determined to find the something else. And the something else turned out to be my spiritual guide, who was Elena. And so I said to her, who are you? She said, I'm a divine goddess. And I said, can I have a relationship? Can I really get to know you? And this is what we did over a few months until April 88. And this is where this experience kicked in. On a Saturday night, she said to me, you know all the archangels really well. And I said, no, I don't. And she said, you do. So, okay, this was, and the communication was partly auditory, partly telepathic at this time. And then the very next day, when my fiancée Jane was a nurse going out on a nursing shift, I was in bed with my pendulum, talking to her and getting the connection with her. Suddenly, the energy of the whole room changed very dramatically. It was as if some big force had come in, and I could hardly speak. It was such a presence. And I said, who's this? What's this? She said, it is the supreme divine being. And I said, I don't believe it. It's, prove it. And then my communication with the pendulum went mad. It spun around with such speed. And I got the words, yes, he will prove it. And suddenly the weirdest thing that happened to me was I started to get this fizzing, this kind of very fine vibration up at the top of my crown, which then started to travel through my body like a wave. And when it got to my heart, I was aware that there's this big spherical heart right in the center of my chest, beating with such force. And I put my right hand on this beating heart. So that's weird. My heart slipped because it should be to the left. And I thought, this is weird because it's circular. It's a sphere. It's not heart-shaped. And then very slowly, I put my heart on the left side of my chest. And I thought, oh, my God, OMG. There is another heart beating in me. And this was my normal human heart. And there was this new heart, which was a complete sphere, really strongly beating. I was just completely zapped out. And then very quickly, I don't know how long this went on for, but not long, that wave just passed through the rest of my body. And it was gone. I said, what on earth was that? She said, that was the supreme divine forming his beating heart inside your body. I said, what? And she said, you wanted proof? He gave you proof. And then the same day, I actually saw her appear. I was driving on the M4 into London. I said, I'd love to see you. And I looked up in my car mirror, and it was turned towards me for some weird reason. I was doing 70 miles an hour straight into London. And there, these flipping eyes, my eyes changed, and these beautiful female eyes just appeared there with the most brilliant turquoise. I thought, Flip, you're so beautiful. She said, yeah, you wanted to see me. Here I am. And then something else happened that day that I'm not going to talk about because it's a little bit intimate. But then for the next 3 months, Spirit proved itself to be completely. I had experiences with archangels. I saw them, I felt them, I smelt them, I heard them. Just everything for 3 months. And then suddenly, after 3 months, it all stopped. And I literally was the most depressed I've been in my whole life. It was like I'd been booted out of heaven. I felt they'd sort of got hold of me and sort of kicked me out. Out you go. And I was absolutely desolate. And I said, why? I've been having such a great time for sort of 3 months, feeling completely at home. And now this. And they said, well, we've proved ourselves to you. Now you've got to have faith. And I said, why? Oh, we've got work for you to do. Okay. What is the work? Working with the hierarchy of light. Okay. We're going to work with you. So that was really the big switch around during my life. That was the St. Paul thing where you get your illumination and you get your calling. And that was a really strong calling that I had. And then immediately my passion was essences, because I'd been the batch flower essence photographer in Brightwell cum Sotwell since 1981, 82. I'd been doing lots of photographic work around flower essences, and I had a lot of flower essences, and my passion was the essences. And suddenly I got all this guidance. Go and write to all the essence producers around the whole world, find out, ask them to send you essences, and said, you'll send back to them Devic analyses. Now, Devic analysis is simply asking the angel behind the flower to come and tell you what it's all about. But being a scientist, and I've always been scientific, I created a scientific format. So I got potency of essence as a percentage, Devic potency, that is how strong is the Devic energy, then which subtle bodies it works on, how it works. I was really rigorous and scientific. And as my photographic work had finished now, I just buried myself inside this office, inside the garden for months. My poor wife hardly saw me. And I was just communicating with diva after diva. Just connecting with them by holding the bottle of essence inside my hand and using a pendulum just like this one and using the telepathic contact. But I wasn't getting all the stuff that I'd had for 3 months. That was gone. But now I was finding that I was building up a whole body of information, not just about each flower essence, but what flower essences were and how they were life energies, and how these life energies were far better for us to use for healing and health than other things like
chemically based.
Yeah. So and in Australia, you've got a really strong flower essence movement. And in 91, Sabina Pettit from Canada invited all the major producers of flower essences around the world to the first properly organized conference, Flower Essence World Conference in Vancouver Island. I was invited. And although I had no money, I just went and I talked about the spiritual aspects of flower essences. And I had a really big problem at the time because I stammered really badly. I could hardly get a word out. But Spirit got me through it. And I was able to give that talk and make a connection with lots of producers around the world, including Ian White, who lives in the northern part of Sydney with the Bush Essences, and Vasu Deva from the other side, from the Living Essences. And they invited me to the next World Conference, which was in Australia in 1992 in Manly. And many of you guys might have been there. It was a big conference. We had people from all over the world. And I was talking about actually the energies of flower essences that I'd photographed on crystals, because I'd been doing some pretty advanced work using Kirlian cameras and crystals, because don't forget, I'm a scientist. I wanted to prove scientifically that these things were real, that this wasn't just wishful thinking. I thought the flower essence world is full of people who've got great intentions, but they've got wishful thinking. I want to prove it. I want to prove these things actually exist. And that's what I did in Australia. I showed slides that I'd done of flower essences put onto crystals, photographed with a Kirlian technique where you got the energy of the essence literally incandescing around the crystal and photographed by a camera above this thing going on. So there was no question of any contact effect of the crystal with the photographic material. And I showed these slides, and there were people in the audience there in Manly who were literally gasping because they'd made particular essences, and they could see from the slide of the essence the exact character of the essence showing itself out on the visual slide. Now, this was really important because now there was a solid link between science and naturopathy essences, whatever you want to call it. So, and there's so many essence producers that thanked me after that and said, I saw, for example, Dampiera, which is an Australian essence, it's good for relieving tension in muscles. And the actual image was like knotted up muscle, kind of thing. Or you got Ian's Fringe Violet essence, which is a flower essence for healing the aura. There was like an aura image round with the actual light sort of curves that you get around photographs of the human aura. And there were quite a few others which actually showed that you could prove an essence scientifically. You could actually take a readable image with kind of crystals, and I connected quite strongly with Australia at that particular time. And Ian gave me a sea essence. This sea essence was produced by a lady in Queensland. I don't know her name, but it was a sea plant essence. And he said, look, you've researched all of my bush essences. I'd given Ian devic analyses of all his essences. So he had all that information completely squared up with his information, by the way. Now he gave me this sea essence from this lady in Queensland. He said, would you do an analysis upon this? I did it. And during that analysis, David was speaking to me, and I said, how do I, as a human being, get a sea essence from a deep sea creature? Because I'm not interested in the top of the sea. I want to know what's there deep down, because like when I was a kid in India, I just wanted to know what was deep down in the ocean depths. And this is when the whole thing about me making essences kicked off, because the Devas said to me, you don't need to go and get the sea creature and plonk it in a bowl to make the essence. You can connect with it directly through images, because you've had 17, 18 years as a professional photographer. So this is my sort of kickoff point, because when the Devas said that, I then went through a whole big skeptical process. I'm like so many people, especially men, I was really skeptical. I thought, yeah. And then this whole thing was on the back burner inside my mind. And then next year I started working for Orosoma as their lab manager, doing their color products. And then the year after that, one of my best friends who was working with essences said, Erik, we have got a job to do. And I said, what's that? He said, you've got to make an essence that way that David told you. And he forced me. He said, look, we're going to set this up as an experiment. I'm going to give you a picture of a sea creature called the gossamer parasol, and you're going to actually make the essence from the image connecting with the Deva. And we set it all up, and it worked like a dream. And I won't go into the details here now, but we had absolute proof that was that sea essence. And he even gave it to a whole bunch of people a few weeks later in Wales, and they all reported the same effects. All reported, we were just getting tons of feedback, evidence that this really was the gossamer parasol essence. And then I was working, of course, with Orosema, but I was so fascinated. So within about 6 months, a year, I'd made a set of 10 sea essences. And I was beginning to push them out to people. But one day in the lab, a Swiss distributor came along called Jürg Egger. And he came in straight to the box and he could feel the energies. He said, wow, he said, I would like to sell these. I said, really? He said, yes, I'll order 100 sets. And that's what he did. And he sold them all. And I thought, oh my God. I mean, there is really something here. Then people were reordering those. And I thought, okay, there's something going on here. And then I found that the Swiss really liked spiny lobster because it's for fear of people. And at that time, with Swiss people, there was a lot of fear of other people, fears which govern people's actions. And we've kind of seen them the last couple of years too, with what's been going on. So, yeah, so these essences started to sell. And then I thought, okay, but I've got a main job. I'm not going to start a side business off here now. But then a couple of years later, the butterfly essences came along, and this was a totally different experience. As lab manager, you are responsible for everything that happens in the lab and the success of the products. And for 6 months, from midsummer 96 till the end of 96, I had sheer hell. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong. It was like it kind of started with the birth of one bottle, magenta over gold, and then it finished when the healing bottle of Archangel Raphael came along about 6 months later. And everything, it was the most hellish time of my life because I couldn't understand why everything was going wrong. Everything was going wrong. Everything was going wrong. And then suddenly at the beginning of December, we actually birthed 2 bottles in one day, the royal blue, and the gold over royal blue. And the moment I connected with the Archangel Raphael, then suddenly this amazing healing came. And it's like every single thing came right. It's like spirit switched off a switch and everything came sort of right again. And I was able to take a holiday down in Cornwall that I hadn't been able to take back in October because of the crisis that we were having. And during that holiday, I took my family, four little kids and a wife, to a SeaWorld down in Newquay. And when we got to the SeaWorld, the place was closed, although the tourist board said it was open. So I was really disappointed because we'd driven a whole hour to get there. And in England, driving an hour is a long way. Right. So, and we'd sort of got a whole hour to sort of get to this place. And I was just turning to leave, and this lady ran out after me. She said, "Where are you going?" And I explained. And then she said, "But I'm the owner. I can open it up just for you." I said, wow. And she opened up the whole SeaWorld just for us. And in the very first tank, there was the spiny lobster. And I saw this olive green light around it, and it started speaking to me. The clear, audible voice said, "I will tell you now what butterfly essence is all about." And I'd been given some butterfly essences to research, and I intended to research them down in Cornwall. And now this Deva was telling me that it actually knew what it was about. And then I got all this information. And I said, "How did you know that I had butterfly essences?" And they said, "We know everything." Nothing is a secret, folks. Yeah. And so I got the information. And 2 days on from that, the Archangel Ahura, who was incarnated as King Arthur, guided me to his castle on the cliffs in Tintagel in Cornwall. And it was a black winter stormy day with black sky, strong winds. Should never have taken 4 little kids up there, but I knew I had to go up there. So we went up this steep path, and we found this chapel where the walls had gone down, but there was the altar. And suddenly, in what was almost night during day, the altar lit up with light. And Ahura said to me, "Now the butterfly essences will be born." I went, "What? What have I been through for 6 months of sheer bloody hell?" And then now all this, and it was like that was the moment of transformation, and all that had happened just so that I would know the power of transformation in that moment.
Wow, amazing.
It was just, and then, that day I actually made my first connection with the first 2 solar color beings, because that's what the spiny lobster told me. He said they're beings from the sun of color called solar color beings, and they are the source beings for the butterfly energies, the energies of color that come through butterflies. And these energies are transformative. So now I had the keys and the tools to make butterfly essences. And so, I made 3 sets of 28 butterfly essences each over some time. And the whole process, suddenly what had told me, what Spirit had told me back in 88 came alive. I was doing it. I was living that dream. But my God, it was not an easy process. It was painful. It was difficult. Wow. It was challenging. Spirit doesn't give you stuff easy. You get a beautiful gift, but my God, you get tested.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
When you went to Tintagel, did you actually go down onto the beach and go into the cave?
Yeah, I did, but I wasn't focusing upon that. I was focusing upon the castle, because the castle built by King Arthur related to previous time, 500 years before Christ, when a man from Tintagel called Ara was guided to go to Glastonbury, which at that time was an island called the Isle of Avalon.
Mm.
And he then went up onto what's now called the Chalice Hill and met 3 archangels who greeted him as their brother. And they gave him the Holy Grail. They gave him this golden cup, which he buried into that hill. And I know the exact spot, because the sort of line of the hill sort of breaks then at that point. But now they planted trees, so in fact you can't see that spot. but I was spending years and years tuning into the Holy Grail in Glastonbury. I would go to the well every month for years and years and years, just tuning in, and the energies of the Holy Grail and the Solar Logos came into one of the products that we made at Glastonbury, which was the quintessence of the Solar Logos and the Holy Grail. And this is only a few of lots and lots of things that were going on. I mean, incredible experiences, which were showing me that Spirit had planned everything out. There was, nothing had been left to chance. Everything is very precisely planned.
Mm.
So I would describe myself as a facilitator, not a channel. I'm very clear about that. I don't channel anything or anybody, but I facilitate. I'm a worker upon the ground who says, okay, Spirit, you want to come and you want to give us this essence. You want to come and you want to manifest this elixir. I'm your man on the ground. I'm going to get the bottles together. I'm going to get the liquids. I'm going to get the labels. I'm going to do this. So it's essentially a kind of practical job. But I mean, just to give you an idea, over the years, I've produced 84 butterfly essences.
How many?
84 butterfly essences, 49 sea essences, 14 dolphin essences, 14 whale essences, 14 combination essences, 7 goddess elixirs, and 7 god elixirs.
Not too many.
Not too, yeah. And that's just little old me. And it's been, and I'm actually actively producing these here upon our little farmstead here in Lincolnshire, starting it all off with money from my pension, as one does. Yeah, so that's how it all kind of kicked off.
I tell you what, it sounds really familiar with the story with Elaine Caddy and the Magic of Findhorn.
Yeah.
How essentially all the realms came together to manifest Findhorn community,
Absolutely. And when I left Hong Kong during my last professional job in '87, the first place I went to was Findhorn. And the first thing I did was connected with the Findhorn apothecary. And then I took all the money I had. I spent every penny on essences.
Yeah, so you're saying. I mean, when you see the caravan and then you see the lush vegetation around that caravan where they lived in,
yeah,
it's a wonder you just walk straight into the essence of that. Well, there's something unique about that place, isn't it?
Fantastic! Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it is one of many light centers in the world. There are many more.
Of course,
but Findhorn provides a very important focus, especially back at that particular time. And, a lot of people from the States come over to Findhorn. Lots of Californians come there because Californians got a very strong spiritual scene as well. And there was a lot of world linking going on from Findhorn. Findhorn linking to California, linking to other light centers around the world. I mean, there's it's important to understand that the hierarchy of light, the sort of beings that I'm going to talk about now, are linking with the whole of humanity to bring forth not just a new age, but a complete divine reset. We're talking about, you get Bill Gates and co. talking about the economic reset. Well, that ain't nothing. The big change is the divine reset.
Well, it's really a marriage, wasn't it? I mean, if you look at Dorothy, Peter, Elaine, and Neil Crombie, I mean, there was a marriage of unique bloody kingdoms that came together. I mean, so many people made that move to come there and provide their essence of their realm in a human form.
Oh, absolutely. And it's the fact is that we were always meant to live at one with the whole of creation. Spirit and humanity were never meant to separate. We separated really because of our own will and our own lifestyle. But what's been happening since 1989, since the fall of the Berlin Wall, has been a complete new paradigm in our history where we are now reconnecting with the divine beings. Now, you might have heard of a great New Age prophet called Sir George Trevelyan. Have you heard of him?
Yeah, he worked with Pavarich, and they went around the Middle East there doing a lot of healing work, and they had the Faraday cage.
Yeah, well, Sir George
Andronicus
was one of the great avatars of the New Age, and he was a friend of mine. And one of the things that he was very excited about was back in '81, when I was a photographer for the National Trust, I photographed the tour for the National Trust. And there was and I was very detailed in my observations, and I made notes. Nobody here. It was a freezing cold September day, September the 29th, '81. And I took the standard pictures for the National Trust, for the National Archive, of the 4 views of the Tower of Glastonbury Tor, as well as a few others. And it's when I processed my films afterwards that this figure of a monk appeared. And what was funny was the cowl, the actual hood that he had on was lying down like it was in still air. It was as if there was no wind, but I knew there was a very strong wind blowing through there. So if that being had been in the physical world, that hood would have been blown to one side, but it wasn't. It was hanging down like it was in still air. And this figure, then I actually got one of the frames, which I blew up on the Naja, and I couldn't make out any facial features, but there was an object right into the throat. Now, Sir George got very excited because he said he'd taken the picture around the whole of Glastonbury, and everybody said that's Abbot Whiting, who was murdered at the Tor during the time of King Henry VIII. And guess what? They sort of put a knife straight through his throat there, which kind of came out on the photograph.
Wow.
And Jeff, I'd just like you to put up that picture, please, which shows me playing the guitar, because this was a picture when I was teaching up in Latvia, and it was, yeah.
They're like Paul McCartney, mate.
Yeah, some people say that I look a little bit like Paul McCartney there, which I'm quite flattered if people say that. But the thing was that the guitar was a terrible guitar. I could hardly play the damn thing. But suddenly, the guitar almost started playing itself, and then those figures appeared round. You see those white shapes? They were spirit beings dancing, but the guitar only started playing properly when they came in frame. That's weird, huh?
Amazing.
And he took that picture then at that time. So I was doing a lot of teaching. I've been teaching around the world for about 20, over the last 24 years, but the last 2 years has been mainly Zoom teaching for obvious reasons. But certainly I've been very lucky that I've done a lot of teaching in places like Russia, a lot of teaching in Japan, quite a lot of teaching in China and Malaysia and Hong Kong and Singapore, and tons of teaching in Europe, Germany, Switzerland, Austria, Hungary, and Slovenia, and quite a few more places. And also quite a lot of teaching in South America. I've done Brazil quite a bit, Argentina, done some teaching in Venezuela, in Mexico, but no, by no means comprehensively around the world, but certain places. But certainly the work of the essences has really taken me around the world a lot. And because I play guitar, as you see, I've sort of trawled the guitar around with me around the world.
So can I ask, I know you've got a lovely team of people working with you. Do you make all your essences there where you live on the farm?
Yeah.
So what is the most popular essence at the moment, and which sort of countries really have taken to your essences and sell the most? Right, can't read it from here. What does it say?
Oh, right. Okay, this is the goddess elixir of Aisha.
Oh, right. Okay.
She probably outsells every product by sort of quite a bit. Now, the god and the goddess elixirs, I will want to talk about a little bit later. Why Aisha? Because she is the love creative goddess, divine goddess of the mid-divine planes, which means she is the love creative goddess of the heart center. Now, in divine terms, love manifests practically as healing. Okay. The feminine love energy manifests as a healing energy. So she is the primary goddess healer. And this is a product that I've been producing now for 5-6 years, completely guided, of course, from spirit. And this has the smell of Melissa essential oil in Melissa floral waters, which is a lovely, uplifting, cleansing scent, but it's packed with energy because it's got her own being energy plus a whole set of other vibrational energies that are totally in line with her. Like there's a flower essence energy, there's a gem energy, there's a sea energy, there's a butterfly energy. There are 2 angel energies. That's a cherubim and seraphim angel, and yeah, whales and dolphins. Yeah, so you know, there's a whole set of energies, and this is the case with all of the gods and the goddesses, and people around the world love this because it's basically very healing, very cleansing. It's brilliant as a space clearer, something that can bring both cleansing and healing and upliftment to any space as well as any person. And one person in Hong Kong was ordering so much of this that we were convinced that they were trying to distribute it. And I said, look, I mean, but we've got a distributor in Hong Kong. And they came back and said, no, I'm using 2 bottles of this stuff a day.
Really?
Yeah, because it's so bloody good. I'm spraying everything and everybody with Aisha.
I must say, because all your bottles are beautiful colours, aren't they? They, you know, I've got a couple in the bathroom, but
well, these are the gods, for example. These are going through the essential rainbow spectrum. If I can tilt that down a bit, you've got, these are the 7 god elixirs. Now, where it falls apart is actually here, because Om, who is for the crown chakra of the gods, didn't want to have the purple, which is the normal crown chakra color. He wanted pale gold. So Om gets his pale gold. So the guy before him, who's brow chakra, well, Hime gets the violety one. And then the others go according to chakra. The pale blue, sort of greenish, lemony yellow, pale orange, and pale red. So in fact, you get the 7 god elixirs going more or less with the chakra colors, and then but the goddess elixirs who came before them are different, and this is Amateras, and she's a deep gold. She's base chakra. So she and Ristilla are what we call base chakra. And I'll explain this in a diagram just in a moment. But Ristilla and Amateras, they're both base chakra. But she is, as a goddess, she's dealing with the physical base chakra. But as a god, he's dealing with the base chakra of the divine planes, and the 2 link beautifully. And then you've got Aisha, who is the goddess that links with the sacral chakra, which is the one we've been talking about, that has to do with healing. And then you have Kaya, who is divine mother, who is the pink, and she links with solar plexus chakra, which is the god Ballet, who is also the highest love creative aspect of God. So you get divine mum and Ballet dealing with solar plexus chakra, and then heart chakra you have goddess Izanami, who is the female creator goddess of the astral plane, and she links with the god Arana, both heart chakra. He is the love creative aspect of God on the mid divine plane. So he is actually the partner of Aisha, but in terms of the set, both he and Izanami deal with the heart chakra, and then throat chakra. You've got the god Maharashtra, and you have the goddess Suma. Now, Suma is what's called the Omnirani. She's the overall female creator goddess of the whole of creation, whereas Maharashtra is the power strength aspect of God on the mid-divine planes. So they're both dealing with power, but he in a more obvious way. But she is using this color of coral because it signifies harmony between people, harmony in relationships. So she uses her female power to bring harmony, whereas he uses his male power to sort things out. He's a primary sorter outer of things. And then you get the goddess Alina linking with the brow chakra with the god Welhime. Now he's the source of divine knowledge from the second divine plane, and she is the love creative aspect of God on the solar planes, but she's also linking with the sort of brow with the solar plexus chakra. There's a lot of stuff behind this, but I'm just explaining it.
Yeah.
And then you get the highest being of God, crown chakra, and you get Vimea, who is the most powerful of the goddesses, who is also crown chakra. So, Jeff, if you could put up that 13 planes diagram, I just want to show this, what I've just explained, inside a diagrammatic form. Yeah. So what you've got here is a diagram showing the 13 planes of creation. And you'll notice, first of all, that there are two human figures, one above, one below. The human figure below is basically us humans who have 7 chakras that we relate to the physical body, and the planes 7 till 13 down on the left hand side are our physical creation that in fact we're in. But if you see the solar planes, there is where the feet is of the higher figures. So that represents the base chakra of the divine. And the gods now represent the divine planes, which are planes 1 to 7. And you'll see 1 at the top and down to plane 7, which is the solar planes. Now, the solar planes, briefly, are the planes of the sun. And if you notice, the crown of the bottom figure and the feet of the top figure are both in the solar planes, which means practically that the solar planes are where the divine creation joins with our creation. In other words, the sun is both in the divine planes, but it's also in our creation too. And so you get 14 gods and goddesses. The goddesses represent and they bring energy down to the 7 chakras that we have in our creation. But we have then the 7 gods who link with the 7 divine planes, and we actually have a god and a goddess for the solar planes. The god representing the base of the divine planes, and the goddess representing the crown of our creation. And these two are a pair. This is Ristilla and Vimea, who are the most powerful divine beings. They're the highest power and strength aspect of God, both coming from the second divine planes. So you have 13 planes, but 14 gods and goddesses. Do you see that?
Yeah, gosh.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And this has been very precisely given to me by the divine beings, not all at once, step by step. And then I have, because I'm working with the hierarchy of light, I have communications every day with archangels, divine beings, all kinds of other beings. And these communications happen so quickly and so easily. And Jeff, I'd just like you to put the energy flow diagram up, please, which shows the relationship between the Earth and the Sun. That's the one Yeah. Okay. You see it. You see the right-hand side. You've got the sun, and you see the number 7 in there. That's plane 7, the solar planes, right? Now, if you look to the left, you'll see the Earth represented by a circular green shape. Now, you'll see there are 2 numbers in every one of those planes. 1 and 13 connect with the Earth. 2 and 12 connect with what we call the etheric planes of our creation, which is also the second plane of the divine creation. 3 and 11 connect with the emotional plane of our creation, which is also the third divine plane. 4 and 10 correspond with the astral plane of the divine creation and also the astral plane of our creation. So the 2 heart planes of the divine creation and our creation are in the same space, but otherwise you get the divine planes being different to the planes of our creation. So what this diagram is showing is, and this is the secret of how creation works, is that every solar system is a miniature creation in itself, and each solar system has one divine planet. The divine planet of our world is planet Earth, okay? And inside planet Earth is where Om lives. That plane 1 you saw in the first diagram is where Om is. Now, he sends the energies of life out through the Antarctic. There's a huge blast of energy out through there, through the layers of atmosphere around the Earth, each layer being about 15,000 feet. And at that frequency, we can't feel the energy because it's at a much, much higher frequency. And the divine beings are potentizing and strengthening and purifying all the life energies, which are traveling back to the being in the center of the sun, known as the solar logos. And he is stepping these energies down to a form that we can pick up with our physical senses as heat and light. And these energies now go out to 12 solar planes, 12, and you can think of the sun like an orange with 12 segments, and they're broadcast from those planes to all the planets inside our solar system. And in this way, the energies of life, which are originating with Om inside our Earth, in this solar system, now are distributed around to all the planets in our particular solar system. So our solar system is a miniature creation. And the way the energy flow works is the life energies come through us, giving us life, but we don't use them up. They go through our feet, back into Gaia, and then back from her, back into Om. And Om takes them up from the 13th frequency, which is where we are, up to the first frequency. So he brings all the cosmic rays up to this very high frequency, which then he sends it all back again from the sun. So our scientists, thinking the sun's just a burning pile of hydrogen, have just missed the boat. The sun is equally bright all the time because there's a constant flow of life energy from the sun. So the sun is an energy distribution system, and we on the surface of Earth, if you see those divine planes I talked about, are very proximal to us because each of those planes you see around the Earth are about 15,000 feet depth, or 3,000 something meters, 3,600 meters, and so when I'm working with Om, or I'm working with any of these gods or goddesses and a whole ton more, geographically they're not far from me. They're only a few miles away, or even a few hundred yards. And now this is the interesting thing, is when you're working with them, they don't respond to your thoughts. They respond to your intentions. And your intention to speak to spirit precedes your thought. Therefore, by the time you've had the thought, oh, I want to communicate with that spirit being or that spirit being, they're already there. They already know what you're going to say. because they've actually read your intention before you've even done it. So what I'm really doing is I'm working as a co-creator with Spirit to bring the tools, the essences, and the elixirs so that we can all uplift our vibrations, because the dark side has been working bloody hard to do the opposite, to pull our vibrations down. Why is our world rife with cancer? Cancers are beings, discarnate astral beings that are attaching to people and starting to live off their life energies. And why are we susceptible? Because our vibrational frequencies dropped. And who has dropped it? The bloody dark side, who've been working very, very hard with a whole lot of dark side technologies to pull our energies right down. And to work through things that they inject into you to do the same bloody thing as well.
Yeah.
So you see, this work that I'm doing is really important for the planet. And I'm not saying me, I. I'm just one of loads of people who is doing this work to bring on the new age, to facilitate the upliftment of humanity. Because my God, we've got ourselves into one hell of a mess on this planet. I mean, when you think that the highest divine lives inside our planet, I mean, look at the mess on the surface. We have created one huge, humongous mess. I mean, we've sort of made the oceans so toxic. We're sort of chucking our poisons into the oceans, not just the chemical ones, but biological ones, energetic ones. Look at Fukushima. Look at all the stuff that, I mean, by all scientific calculations, Fukushima should have contaminated half of the Pacific to a point that even you in Australia wouldn't be able to operate because of that amount of radiation. But guess what? These wonderful beings called dolphins, they are swimming around in big pods, and they are cleansing. They're cleansing the energy matrix of the whole ocean. One big pod of dolphins literally does a massive cleaning job on the etheric, what I call web or matrix of the oceans, cleaning the oceans and taking out our chemical pollution, our biological pollution, our energetic pollution. And we stupid human beings keep chucking our rubbish into the oceans. And if it wasn't for the dolphins, we'd be dead. I can tell you, we'd be dead. They're cleaning, they're keeping life on Earth going. And the whales as well. So whales are doing an amazing job with the trophic cascades, grounding the carbon dioxide that we're producing down into the bottom of the ocean, producing the plankton, producing all the things that are bringing us the oxygen. And the whales have been around for like 300 million years, and they have wisdom like we can't imagine. We've only been on this planet for 13.5 million, and we're like kids messing up the planet. We are mucking this place up full time. Whales are working really hard to work with Elohim angels, bringing the sound vibrations of the Elohim, who are the planet creators who work on the solar planes. These solar angels are sending sound vibrations down to the whales. Humpback whales aren't singing for courtship. They're singing for a very practical reason, that they are vibrating the etheric blueprints behind all our planet into the right state of resonance so that our planet life can continue. And Jeff, I was down in Melbourne some years ago, staying with a friend of mine called Gretchen, and I was in a bit of a bad state. I was feeling a bit sick. I had a little bit of a heart thing. I had a bit of a glandular fever thing. My eyes were going in different directions. My body was twisted. I had pain in my legs. I was a mess. And sort of Gretchen took one look at me and said, "You must meet Cameron Dawson." Cam Dawson. He's a wonderful Australian sound healer who's been working in Bali. So she takes me around to Cam. Cam's giving a class to about 8 students there in Melbourne. And I'm very embarrassed. I said, no, I can't intrude upon this class. And so the Cam says, come on in. And then he says to me, how would you like to have a treatment that would normally cost you £100 free? I said, yeah, okay, I'll do it. Then he humiliates me because he shows with kinesiology and with a whole lot of instruments that he's got everything that's wrong with me. And I think, oh my God, I'm being so humiliated here in front of all these people that I haven't even met.
It's like the English cricket team, mate.
And then he lies me down upon this couch, and then he produces these very fine instruments made in Bali, which are producing very fine sound frequencies in different parts of my energy field. And do you know what? It was amazing. He says, stand up. I thought, I can't believe it. I'm feeling better than I have my whole life. And he actually shows now that my eyes are in the same direction, my sort of legs are the same length, the pain's gone out of my body, I'm feeling fit and alive and together. And I think, wow, that's just a few sounds that were tinged in my being. And these sound healers in Bali, they only work under the light of the full moon. And they're working very strongly under the silver goddess Aisha, because she works with a whole lot of healing angels, and they're connecting the divine vibration, divine resonance at the time of the full moon perfectly. So they make all their instruments by the light of the full moon, where that feminine love resonance, which is the most healing energy in the planet, is at its perfection. And that's where these instruments were made that actually healed me. And it is those kind of energies and vibrations that are going down to the dolphins. So all those dolphins, they're doing a mega healing job. Let me tell you, they're doing an amazing healing job inside the oceans. And if I could just tell you one more little story here. I was teaching in New Zealand some years back, and I was having good courses there. Then I come over to Brisbane. Yay. And Brisbane, I have 4 students. And okay, that's fine. I can teach a small class. But for some reason, there were other factors that made me feel a bit kind of depressed then at the time. And I was beginning to get down. And then I go to Sydney, where I'm expecting quite a few students, and nobody turns up. But I mean, 1 or 2, that's all. And I was expecting at least 10, 12. So I'm getting really depressed then at this point. Then I fly over to Perth, and I'm due to teach in Fremantle. And a friend of mine picks me up, and she takes me straight onto the beach at Freo, as you call it. And I sit on some rocks, and I'm looking out to sea, and I see 2 dolphins, and they're swimming together like one. They're like one being. There's 2 of them, but they're one. And I have because I've been so depressed, I have such a sense of longing. I'm longing to connect with these beautiful beings, but then they disappear. So I feel really depressed, and I'm feeling mega depressed. And then I look down, and then I suddenly see that they're both right in front of me, heads out of the water, looking at me. And then they start talking to me, and they tell me that they know everything that's been going on the other side of Australia. They know what I've been through in Brisbane. They know what I've been through in Sydney. And they say, now everything's going to be different. Things are going to work. Things are going to go. And we're going to sort it. I said, hey, you're a cool bunch of dudes. And I said, would you like to come to my talk I'm going to give tonight in Fremantle? And I said, be my special guest. And this is no exaggeration, Jeff. The door just opened by itself before the people came. and I could feel these two dolphin beings come into the room. And from that moment, boy, it was party time. Tons of people came. It was a great talk. Lots of people up on the course the next few days. I go to Alice Spring, loads of people more. Hey, these guys sorted it. And they knew what was going on in my life, the other side of Australia. So do not underestimate dolphins. They are amazing beings. They're angelically connected with the goddesses and with the healing angels of the 5th, the 4th, and the 6th divine planes. And these dolphins are looking out for us. You know, there's countless stories of dolphins trying to protect people from sharks. I mean, you've probably heard a few in Australia where they've chased sharks away. I don't know if they chase away the great white, but they'll chase a lot of sharks away from people. And they also look after us in a whole lot of different ways. They help people catch fish. There's stuff going off on the west side of Australia where dolphins are sort of rounding up fish, and the guys are able to catch the fish much more easily. And there's a wonderful story about the whales as well. You know, the dark side have really tried to kill the whales off because they're such light beings. And they've created all the stories about the terrible whales, you know, Moby Dick slashing a boat up and stuff. And so they created this whole fear thing around whales. And then about 5 years or more ago, there's a fisherman in Baja in California. And he's just fishing. And suddenly this gray whale comes up, looks in his eyes, and this guy sees pure love. Nothing else, pure love. And he's so amazed because of all this shit that the dark side has put out about whales. And he goes back and tells everybody, we should not fear whales. They're full of love. I've seen it. I've felt it. Now, women from all over the world go to Baja at the time that the female gray whales are calving, and they're kissing them, supporting them, loving them. Because of this one guy, this one transformational thing.
And that's not quite right, mate. That wasn't quite right. The biggest movement in Australia, the biggest movement on the planet was none other than Star Trek, The Voyage Home, when the probe came out from another galaxy to find out what was going on with the whales. That big, huge movie transformed the whole mindset on this planet, a bit like Avatar did with its movie.
Okay, well, that was one thing, and this was something else. But I'm just saying that that we are discovering that the whales and dolphins are the master beings of the ocean, as we're master beings of the land. And the whales in particular hold amazing wisdom for us. And if we listen to them, if we communicate with them and stop killing them, they will provide solutions to all our problems. And okay, now how does this relate to me? Well, the whale essences and the dolphin essences, I was told in 2005 by bring them through. I thought the process would take me a few weeks. It took me 7 years. I was producing only on average, one new whale, one new dolphin every 3 months. Now, the reason was that certain conditions had to apply. I've got 5 kids, and my 2 eldest boys are both severely autistic. And all the whale essences had to come through the eldest autistic boy, who's called Alexander. And all the dolphin essences had to come through the younger autistic boy called Joseph. And they're in special institutions, so we don't see them that much. So they'll only come back occasionally. So I could only make these essences when a particular one came back. But there was a whole process. On the Sunday morning of the weekend that one of those boys came back, a being called Timir, who's the master being of the Pacific Ocean, came to me and told me we were going to make a whale essence that day if it was Alexander, or a dolphin essence that day if it was Joseph. And then he'd tell me what the essence was. I'd research it during the day. I'd find out as much information as I could. And then during the afternoon, at about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I would have 2 bottles, what I call blanks, just brandy and water, and I would take that son of mine into the drawing room, and I'd sit behind him, and I'd put the two bottles against his chest. So my arms were around him and the blanks were against his chest, and then call in the pair of dolphins or the pair of whales by name, because I'd been given the names, and they came in, energized the essence, and we took it from there. And these are very profound essences, because they, every single time I do a consult, and I've been doing them for 23 years now, 33 years with Divine Mother. Every time I do a consult, we get lots of whale and dolphin essences, because they are so powerful to heal, to support, to facilitate, and to help us to grow and be who we truly are. And they're working with the divine will all the time. So thank God they're here, because they're keeping us alive, literally.
Hey, your farm's over in Lincolnshire. I mean, is there something unique about your property? Are you on an energy line or some ley line there, intersection there, or?
Well, there was something unique about a point about it was about a mile down the lane from me, and this is worth talking about, actually, because back in the time of the Vikings, about the year 800, lots of Scandinavian Vikings came over and they invaded England, and most of them came over to Lincolnshire, which is why we have an awful lot of place names ending in by, which is the Swedish name ending of kind of lots of places. And there was a fortification just a mile down the road from me called the Toot, which was an artificial mound with a moat, and this was defended against the Vikings. Now there was a mega battle there, and thousands of people lost their lives, a lot of blood spilled. And this was a spot where 4 ley lines crossed. So it was a major earth energy point. But the spilling of blood during that battle blocked it. Energetically, it was blocked. And because it was blocked, the whole vitality and health of the land and everywhere around really went completely down. And when I bought this property, which is a small farm with just 5 acres, the energy was really down. So I was talking to the angels, talking to the landscape angel of the property itself and also the one for the bigger area. And they both told me the same story. And they said, you can heal it. I said, how? And they said, using crystals. And then the landscape angel, who was of the Toot, told me, get 4 quartz wands about this long, natural quartz, not cut. You can't have cut quartz, just and about 4-6 inches long, and then program them with your silver 3 butterfly and vampire squid, which is a very powerful sea essence for cleansing the earth energy lines. And I did that and put them in the earth in the center of the hill, one to the north, one to the south, one to the east, one to the west of the tree in the center, and leave them there for a week. And I did that. And I could not believe the difference when I came back. The whole place was buzzing with energy. The energy of my farm had completely transformed. It was just uplifted incredibly. And the combination of vampire squid sea essence and silver 3 butterfly essence on those 4 crystal ones had literally completely unblocked the that particular hotspot of the ley lines there. And what happens is the big trees are taking in ley line energies from the hotspots through their branches and then grounding it into the earth where they are. That's why trees are so important.
Of course.
Because trees are literally taking in and grounding the ley line energy into any place where they are. That's why we shouldn't cut down all the trees, you see.
So the toots, is that T-U-T-E-S, is it? Toots.
Hmm? Toot. T-O-O-T. It was called Toot Hill, which has now been shortened to Tot Hill, T-O-T-H-I-L-L. Yeah. There's a Toot Hill down in Hampshire, which is different, but no, Tot Hill down in Hampshire, but which is 2 words, but ours is just 1 word, Tot, T-O-T-H-I-L-L. So that's why I guess that I came here. But, you know, this is why I can make the products here, because energetically, this place was prepared by what I've just told you.
And I must say, like, because I've been doing my best to tune in for an essence, excuse me, and like, you know, I was going to go for one, and then like when we were talking, I thought I'd like the Om essence, and then like I see the color of the well in the dolphins, and it's like there's so many beautiful colors, and it's really homing in on the right one that's right for me at this moment in time. But you know, I look at, I think, oh yeah, I could do with some of that, and I wouldn't mind a bit of that, and I wouldn't mind, you know, like the I've forgotten what you said it was called, but the, like when I go around to Stonehenge in Avebury, it would be good to have the clearing one just to yeah, you know, so many choices.
Yeah, well, yeah, you see, this is why we use a pendulum or other means, because spirit guides us as to what to choose at the right time. You see, I couldn't operate if I didn't have this connect. I mean, I'm working for consultations now for 33 years with Divine Mother, and she chooses what people need, and I'm just acting like a facilitator. I facilitate for her, so she chooses the essences. And if I could just tell you one story how it kicked off. I was traveling to Australia. I was going through Singapore, and I stopped off in Singapore for just 1 3-day course. And my boss had said, no, you've got to go straight through. You can't spend any time hanging about, any time away from work. You've got to be working all the time. But it so happened that the way the flights worked out, that I had to spend a whole week in Singapore, but I only had a 3-day course. And I thought, oh my God, he's going to be displeased with me because I haven't gone straight through to Australia. But what happened was, as soon as the course was over, I said to my Chinese organizer in Singapore, I said, I can do consultations, by the way. She said, oh, yes, I've just prepared a list, 16 consultations. And by the way, you have to have them all done by 4 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon, which meant that I had just over 24 hours to do 16 consults, which is, right. And each consult is at least an hour. So I was working at a mega pace. And I thought, okay, now I know why I spent a whole week here. Yeah. Amazing. But I mean, this is how spirit works. You think, oh gosh, that's a mistake. But then something like that comes up and you think, wow, no, it actually isn't a mistake. It was meant to be that way. And I had one extraordinary one, which I actually met the human being who's the incarnation of Lady Nada, who is one of the Ascended Masters. And when she came for hers, every one of her essences was a group 1 butterfly, which are the ones that work on the crown chakra, the high spiritual ones. And when I tested them, she just held the essence and her face became like a TV screen, and the whole effect of the essence just played across her face. We didn't say a word. I saw everything just manifested straight across her. And then when she held the pale blue one, which is the one for alignment with the divine will, the pale blue, she put her head to one side and a single tear came out of her eye like a diamond and just stood shining upon her cheek out. It was one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
Wow, amazing.
And I mean, I've got so many stories about how incredible it has been to be on this journey with the hierarchy of light. And I'm just in, I'm just in total gratitude. Just gratitude to gratitude to people, gratitude to everybody.
We just lost audio.
Yeah. So
Okay.
deep gratitude, and
We
deep
just lost the audio.
gratitude
You
to
know that?
both of you as well.
Well, it's been amazing. I've loved you sharing your journey. I don't know, Jeff can't seem to hear us, but you can't. Can you hear us, Jeff?
Well, I think he's slightly lost connection.
Well, I can.
Ladies and gentlemen, we just lost the audio.
Oh well. Anyway, I can hear you. Maybe others can. What was I going to say? So maybe you'd come back another
No idea
time
what
at a
happened
later date and share more stories, because they're fascinating.
I would love to, and I'd love to share any details that people want to know about. If sort of people could write into you and say, oh, I'd like to know more about that, or I'd like to know more about that, Jen, just give me those things and I'll gladly go through them.
Fabulous. Yeah. Amazing. No, it's been lovely having you on the show and sharing amazing stories. So I'm not quite sure what's happening with Jeff, if we're still if you and me are live, or you and me are just talking at the moment.
Well, it says live upon my screen.
It says live, yeah. So
Jeff, are you there? No, I think he's coming off that. Okay, well, thank you, Andrena, and thank you to Jeff. Thank you both of you.
And thank you so much. It's been an absolute delight.
Yes, and I'm going to just exit now. So I'll say goodbye to you all.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Right.